Hi, my name is Jim Carrillo, and we're here with Holly Rauser from Consider Etiquette. Holly, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Jim.
So, Holly, you're an etiquette coach, facilitator, trainer, extraordinary. What does an etiquette professional do?
What does an etiquette professional do? Personally, I am more of a speaker for hire. I will come into an organization, a university, and I will help people become more comfortable with what they're doing with other people. For example, because etiquette actually makes your life easier. It gives you the confidence to be able to interact with another person without worrying so much about, am I supposed to do this? Am I not supposed to do this? So etiquette basically helps you identify what it is that you're doing and gives you that confidence to not do the wrong thing, hopefully.
Great. You know, a lot of us don't think we need etiquette coaches, but I bet a lot of us are wrong. What have you seen out in public that has just made your jaw drop?
It's interesting how people think they don't need etiquette. I also speak on cruise ships, and on my last day of the cruise ship, cruising home, I always speak on etiquette. My audiences are mainly people with good etiquette who were made fun of during the cruise, and they wanted to see were they correct or incorrect. For example, in a dining room on a cruise ship, it can be a 5-star experience. It's gorgeous, lots of table settings, and somebody will come to me and say, somebody was making fun of me, and this happens more than once, that the way I was eating. So am I correct? And I have to say, wait a second. Someone's making fun of the way you're eating. Do you think they have proper etiquette if they're making fun of you as you're eating? Probably not. And it's always been true. Whenever somebody comes to me asking, did I do the right thing because somebody else was making fun of me, they have the right etiquette. And I find that people who come to my etiquette seminars are up on etiquette. It's the people who don't come because they think they don't need it that are usually the ones that really need to be there. Because they're clueless. They're an unconscious incompetence. They don't know that they don't know.
So that's interesting. What you're saying is the people that were commenting on improper etiquette were in fact the ones having bad etiquette for making the comments.
Correct? Exactly.
Very good. That's a good thing to know. So it should take the intimidation off of us that if we feel like maybe we don't know the proper etiquette, the one thing we can count on is if we're with people with proper etiquette, we won't have to worry about their ridicule.
Absolutely. To even comment on someone who has bad etiquette and you're doing everything right, somebody's doing everything wrong, to make a comment, unless of course you're trying to save their life somehow, is really bad etiquette.
Most people think that etiquette is limited to the table or proper manners when addressing people. But I understand etiquette can have a large impact on our business population. And so, Holly, I love my phone. I text all the time, I answer the phone.
Right.
What should I know about etiquette when it comes to cell phone use?
Oh, cell phones are a big bugaboo, especially texting. First of all, let me tell you, July is Cell Phone Etiquette Month. They're trying to draw attention to cell phones. Well, it's a new thing. It's a very irritating vehicle in our society, and with the young group, we basically, my age, we're called digital immigrants. In other words, it's like learning a new language, to where our children and this new generation that's graduating, they're digital natives. It's like an extension of them, and so they don't see anything wrong with sitting there talking to you or having dinner with you texting. Huge bugaboo. An international etiquette consultant put on her Facebook, what is the most annoying thing when it comes to etiquette? Overall, it was texting, texting, texting. Don't text while you're talking to somebody. Big no-no. If you're in a business meeting and you start texting, huge mistake, because you've just shown your client, your prospective business partner, or your employer, they're not worth your time. Obviously, this person you're texting to, and they know you're texting, even if you think you're texting under the table. People know. Don't text while you're talking to somebody.
I know a lot of our watchers on public access television are business professionals. What are some of the things that bad etiquette, especially at a lunch date, can harm you in your profession?
That is a very good question, and I actually do focus a lot on the mealtime interview or the business lunch, because you can do everything right. When it comes to a boardroom or you're in an interview situation sitting across a desk, you're very conscious of everything that you're doing. But when you get into a meal situation, there's two things. One, there's something very magical about sharing a meal, that whole breaking bread. And there's a new relationship that can come from that. However, we tend to be a little bit more comfortable around the dining table because it's something we do all the time, and we let our guard down. And that is why a lot of employers are actually taking and having a mealtime interview, because they want to see, how do you react? How do you treat the waiter? What is it that you order? Are you ordering several drinks for lunch? What is your whole manners? A Fortune 500 executive said, if you don't have basic table manners, what do you know? And unfortunately, this generation, truthfully, the second generation to eat in front of the television, and so they don't even know what to do, and they'll put their elbows on the table, they'll eat not very elegantly, and so while you're saying the right things, you went to the right school, and you think you know it all, your dining etiquette can really show that maybe you weren't as educated as you really thought that you should be.
Well, etiquette in a personal life is also important to me. Now, I've got 2 young girls, and one of these days they're going to be bringing a little boy over. And I look at manners, but I think manners is another way of saying etiquette. Why don't you help out the audience and let them know why their sons are going to want to have proper etiquette when they come to my house?
Well, etiquette actually can kind of equate to respect. We're showing another individual respect, and you expect that your daughters are going to be respected by those young men that come over. And so there's ways to show that respect, and with good manners, it is all about respect. Mother Teresa said, good manners will open doors the best education cannot. You might have somebody come from Stanford, Harvard, Yale, and they come in there and they trash your daughters. They're not going to make it. You can have somebody who doesn't have all this highfalutin education, but they come in and they treat your daughter like the queen that she is, that princess, and show her respect. That's going to be your pick. It's very important that somebody has good manners and that they always show respect to everyone. And I don't care if I did a teleseminar on cruising etiquette, and I actually had a call-in question: should we show our room porters, courtesy? And I'm thinking, are they alive? Are they a human being? Everyone alive, everyone should deserve some sign of respect and courtesy. Yes, we respect other individuals just as we want respect ourselves.
That's a very good point. And I like the fact that you pull etiquette into not only just when you're trying to impress someone, but as a way of life, as a way of interacting with other human beings. So one of the other areas of etiquette that I think is missing these days, and we've just kind of lost sight of it, is etiquette in our education system. Do you have any inputs on that?
Absolutely. We try to give our students these days a really well-rounded education, and we actually try to give our children so many opportunities. We have them involved in youth group, we have them in karate, we have them in ballet, in band, but somehow we forget manners. And so it would be, I think, really appropriate to have some kind of etiquette education, and not separately. It's all-encompassing. It's like, now we're going to study etiquette. No, etiquette is all the time, and it would behoove our teachers, our educational system, to teach children proper etiquette. For example, Peter Drucker, who is a management expert, said, more decisions occur over the dining table than any other place, and yet we have no MBA courses on this subject. No, we don't have MBA courses. We don't have undergrad courses. We don't have high school courses. We don't even have junior high courses. And so we kind of leave this huge gap in our students and our children's education by not teaching them proper etiquette.
Well, Holly, I'd like to thank you for coming by and sitting with us today and talking about etiquette. Love to hear all your presentations on etiquette. I've heard quite a few. If someone wanted to get a little bit more information on etiquette or even about the services that you offer, how could they find you?
Well, I'm on the internet. It's interesting, I actually created my business called Consider Etiquette because that's what I kept feeling like when I was out in society, at a movie theater, and someone's on the phone. I was like, can you please consider etiquette? Just consider some etiquette. So my business name is called Consider Etiquette. It's basically www.consideretiquette.com, or you can even look up Holly, middle initial K, Rauser. And Rauser is like Rebel Rouser, because in a way I am a rebel these days because etiquette is sort of against the norm, and so think of me as Rebel Rouser.
That was Holly Rauser with Consider Etiquette at www.consideretiquette.com.
Catch me, if you can, the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., who successfully impersonated a doctor, and he worked in an emergency room. He impersonated a lawyer and practiced law. And as an airline pilot, he traveled to 26 different countries. Amazing. What's even more amazing, most of this took place before his 18th birthday. Frank Abagnale Jr. was a teenage runaway. He never even completed the 10th grade. How did he do it? Frank Abagnale Jr. understood. Clothes make the man. It's true. Naked people have the wrong influence on society. Frank Abagnale Jr. understood no matter how well our parents taught us, we do judge a book by its cover. In the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, he concludes that you and I make up our mind about each other in just 2 seconds. In 2 seconds, your intuitive brain has concluded everything from my moral character, my education level, and even my financial success. So Frank, he dressed for respect. He donned the uniform. And you know, even gangs have a uniform. Even gangs have a code of conduct. There is a protocol for every walk of life. What is your cover? It used to be a time when etiquette was all about a competitive edge. Etiquette is no longer about a competitive edge. Etiquette is now a prerequisite. A Fortune 500 executive asked, if you don't know basic dining etiquette, what do you know? Your entire education is brought into question. So etiquette, what is etiquette? Etiquette is actually a fancy French word for good manners. It translates to label. You are labeled by your etiquette, or lack of. It also translates to ticket. And I like to say etiquette is your ticket up. Etiquette will make you a much more likable person. Is it important to be likable? Studies at Harvard and Yale have concluded likable doctors are sued less. How important is it to be likable? Do you know that likable doctors are sued less? Children with likable parents receive better health care. Pets with likable owners are treated better at the groomers. Is it any wonder that Harvard has said a rise in your likability factor is more important than your career skills? Why? Because we do business with people we like. I actually teach public speaking. Public speaking was my original career before I got into etiquette. And in public speaking, and I still teach public speaking, we spend a lot of time on verbal communication. Nonverbal communication in public speaking. Because did you know in a persuasive situation, only 7% of the message that you are communicating are the actual words coming from your mouth. 7%. The rest is in your body language, in your tone of voice. Let me show you. If I was to say, okay, it's one message. If I say, okay, totally different message. Now what if I do this? Am I saying anything? I am, right? I am giving you a message and yet nothing is coming from my mouth. Okay, now I want everyone to do this. This in another country might be a derogatory symbol, but here in the United States this means okay. So can you all please make an okay sign? Now please take this okay sign and put it on your chin. What did I say? Put it on your chin. Yeah, I got most of you. Why? We believe it when we see it. Right? Ralph Waldo Emerson said, what you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. So if you say all the right things, you have all the right education, you're wearing the right thing, but you're like, back to that Fortune 500 executive who said, if you don't know basic table manners, what do you know? Etiquette. Etiquette will make you a much more likable person, and it will open doors. As Mother Teresa says, good manners will open doors the best education cannot. Okay, now hopefully everyone has a knife and a fork. Everyone's got a knife and a fork. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you the proper way to use a knife and a fork for either the continental style of eating or the American zigzag style of eating. So what I want you to do is have your knife in your right hand, your fork in your left hand. Beautiful. Now, put your palms up. Okay, let's have your knife and your fork on your pointing finger. Fabulous. Now, just turn it over. There we go. Did you know that in most situations it is actually rude to point? When you are eating, it is rude not to point at your food. You want to point at your food. So, your pinky, oh, goodness me, pointing finger shall be on the top of your knife and it will be on the top of your fork. If you're not pointing at your food, you're probably eating like this. This is not the way we want to eat. So make sure you're pointing, this is where I'm going to eat, this is what I am going to eat. And this is the proper way to hold a knife and a fork in either, again, the American zigzag or continental. Now you're going to take your knife and you hold your food with your fork and you're going to cut with your knife. Beautiful. Now, I can see some of you are actually doing battle with your neighbors with your elbow, so I have something for you to do. So this is what we're going to do. Can you please hold these for me? Thank you very much. Tonight, you will do this at dinner, or you will have guilt. Okay? Now we're clear with this. You're going to have guilt. You will do this at dinner tonight. You will take a book, a pocketbook preferably. I today have Etiquette for Dummies and Business Etiquette for Dummies, both written by Sue Fox of Etiquette Survival, who I am affiliated with. You will take these books. They don't have to be this large because it's a little bit hard. You will take these books and you are going to put them under each arm, just like this, while you are having dinner. This way, when you cut your food, you will keep your elbows in. See how simple that is? It will train you to keep your elbows in. When your food comes to your mouth, your elbows will still stay in, and you won't be doing battle. I have seen too many people who think their elbow is an elevator to their mouth. Whoop! Whoop! It's not an elevator to your mouth. Plus, you are not going to be a bobbing bird and come to your food. Have we all seen this? I want you to go to a restaurant tonight and watch. Don't take the books to the restaurant. Okay, to go to the restaurant tomorrow night. But keep this. It's so simple. Etiquette is meant to be simple. Etiquette is easy. It makes your life simpler. I'm not here to complicate your life. Little techniques, like just putting books while you're at home under your elbows, will help to remind you. Keep your elbows in while you eat. Remember, you're going to have guilt if you don't do this. So, in the words of Alfred Hitchcock, no movie or speech should be longer than the endurance of the human bladder. And therefore I'm going to end with two true stories. First is about my friend Don Anderson. In the 1970s, Don Anderson worked for NASA. And what he would do is he would go around to different countries asking to put U.S. satellite stations on their soil. This was not an easy task. And he was in Saudi Arabia, and he said, can we please put a U.S. satellite station on your soil? They said, sure. Would you please come to the University of Dhahran and speak with the students? Great. We'll serve you lunch afterwards. So he went and he spoke with the students at the University of Dhahran. Afterwards, he thought he was just going to have lunch with a couple of these people. Instead, they ushered him into a hall with 100 people. Not only did they do that, they escorted him to the front table. And he thought, oh, I'll just follow my host's lead. Well, they sat him down and they served him first and watched him. And he looked down, and at his plate, he had fish, he had vegetables, and a pile of rice. In the center of the pile of rice were two bright blue sheep's eyeballs. I said, what did you do? He said, I smiled, and I swallowed them whole. He said, I pretended they were olives. And that gesture right there helped him secure a satellite station on Saudi Arabia's soil. A prince was sitting next to him, turned to him right after that gesture and said, what do you need? He gave him his list and he said, done. See, often Americans would come to some place like Saudi Arabia where sheep's eyeballs were a delicacy. It was a great honor to be given these sheep's eyeballs. But Americans would say, we don't eat sheep's eyeballs in America. Completely offending them. So etiquette is just being a little nicer than you need to be. One more story. President Bush Sr. was entertaining some diplomats from Asia. And as part of the meal, they would bring finger bowls for you to dab your fingers in and wash. Well, the same custom in Asia, they bring a clear broth at about the same part of the meal. And the Asian diplomat picked up the finger bowl and began to drink, to the absolute horror of all the American guests seated at the table. Without missing a beat, President Bush Sr. picked up his finger bowl, nodded to the rest of the guests to do the same, and drank from his finger bowl. That is true etiquette.
I have a question. I have been in a situation before where I have two people that I need to introduce to someone else in a business setting. And one is male and one is female, and I'm not sure what the protocol is as far as who should get the first introduction and who should, have to wait.
That's a great question, and that really stumps people because what she's asking is when she's introducing people in a business situation, it is different than if you are introducing someone in a social situation. So if she has a male and a female in a business situation, who does she interview first? And it actually has nothing to do with gender. In business, it is totally gender neutral. Men and women are the same. For example, if a man walks in the room, a woman stands up to be introduced. But in this situation, you're asking, who do I introduce first? The person of higher rank. For example, if it is Ms. CEO, okay, she is the person of higher rank. Or the client, male or female, is always the person of highest rank because they are the most important person. So in that situation, gender neutral, doesn't matter if they're male or female, it is the person of higher rank, and a client always outranks a CEO. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. But that was a very good question. Thank you very much.
I have a question. In terms of meeting groups of people and being introduced to groups of people, I was in a function yesterday, and I was basically introduced to 6 people, and they just kind of went down the line, and it was kind of awkward. It's like, how do you start a conversation? What advice maybe do you give a host in terms of, you know, introducing somebody to a group of people?
Right, and that is the host's responsibility, to make you feel comfortable and to give a conversation starter. That is what's really important. When you are introducing people, you should give some kind of information about each person so that they can start a conversation. For example, this is Marty Cheek. He has just written a book, Clean Energy Nation, and he's a journalist. Please meet my neighbor. Now we have a connection. We know who this person is. John Kimball. John Kimball actually works at a computer company in Palo Alto. So now we have several pieces of information, any one of which you can start a conversation. But when you're going down a line and just say, Marty meet, Marty meet, Marty meet, Marty meet, Marty meet, you're so busy trying to remember their names, you probably won't remember their names because you're having to think about shaking each person's hand. So the host needs to take a little bit of time and say, please meet, and give some information. And this is my neighbor, John Kimball. And this is my cousin who came for the wedding this week. And so that each time it slows down enough to give you time to remember their name, time to ingest some information about them, and then you can start a conversation. Because any one of those, then you can say, oh, I didn't realize you were here for the wedding too. Maybe we'll see each other. Maybe we can sit at the same table, although there's probably seating assignments. So a host, a good host or hostess, will give you that conversation starter so that everyone is comfortable and doesn't stand there with that awkward in their eyes. So basically, life is not a solo experience. There are no such things as self-made millionaires. We need people. And that's why we need to always, always consider etiquette.